All right, what's going on, folks? Ted from Nerd Immersion here, and I have a very, very special guest with me. And before I'll let her introduce herself. So, Lisa, why don't you go ahead and tell everybody who you are?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I am Lysa Penrose. I am the brand manager for Dungeon Masters Guild, but you might also know me as, gosh, an RPG streamer and also other variety games and witchy things. I am a D&D writer myself, and gosh, I just wear a lot of hats.
I've seen you in a variety of different things, and every time I'm like, oh, Lisa's involved in that now too, I guess. So that's cool. So clearly someone, and she's the exact person I would want to talk to for what the topic of this video is, which is getting started in the DM's Guild. Obviously, if you don't know what that is, it's dmsguild.com, just on the heads for that, but it's a place where you can go and upload your own custom modules and things for 5th edition or well, actually, you know what? Why don't I stop explaining it? Lisa, why don't you tell people what the DM's Guild actually is?
Oh, I love talking about Dungeon Masters Guild. Okay.
Yeah.
My favorite thing this morning. I would say Dungeon Masters Guild is kind of three separate things. So, first of all, as you were starting to say, it is a marketplace where folks know that if you're looking for some of the best adventures, rules supplements, player options, you can find 5th edition D&D things at dungeonmastersguild.com or dmsguild.com. So it is a marketplace. On top of that, though, it is a license. So you might be familiar with something called the Open Gaming License, which uses the SRD. But this is a totally separate license from that, which kind of unlocks other aspects of Wizards of the Coast's intellectual property for your use. So you can use settings, you can use heroes and villains that exist. Like if you want Drizzt in your adventure, you can put them in your adventure. And so it is a separate license. But the third thing I would say is it is very much a community.
Yeah.
So the folks who publish on Dungeon Masters Guild are called community creators, and there really is an emphasis on community, where everyone is. If you're someone new to writing for D&D 5th edition, a bunch of that community really likes helping each other and raising each other up. So I would definitely say that's part of what Dungeon Masters Guild is for sure.
Okay, and so that did a way better job than I could ever explain it. So thank you for that. So the crux of this video is me, Ted, D&D creator on the internet, has some ideas for some really cool content that I've made, whether it be a new full level class, a subclass, magic items, whatever. And I say I want to share this with people. And well, I could post this on the internet somewhere. One of the go-to resources, as you described, for things is the DM's Guild. That's a place that people recognize. There is a community of creators there. And in my mind, and at least this is what I've done, having been on the internet doing D&D stuff for a while, it's in my mind a degree above because people feel pride enough in their work to publish it there. So say I'm starting from scratch. I have nothing. What kind of tools do I need to get into the DM's Guild? Do I need software? What kind of stuff do I need?
Okay. So I'd say as in terms of things that you need, I'd say that one thing Dungeon Masters Guild tries to do is to lower the barrier of entry
Okay.
to being able to publish your D&D things. So I sometimes get emails from folks being like, well, how do I get it's like invited to Dungeon Masters Guild, or they think they send us things like a publishing house and we only accept certain things. So that actually is not the case. So really all you need is some way to write and format your adventure. So that could be something as fancy as InDesign for layout. There are a number of open source versions of something similar to InDesign, which I get them mixed up a lot. I think, is it Scribus? I think is the one.
I feel like I've heard it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Scribus is the I get that mixed up with Scrivener. So it's one of those, and then one of those is just for like organizing novels and stuff. It's a different writing software. But it could just be Word.
Okay.
Or anything similar to Word, something that you can then export something as a PDF.
Okay, so that has to be PDF to go on the DM's Guild.
Yes.
Okay.
And then if you have Word and you're like, okay, I have Word, do I just like type in Word? If you want a sort of format or template, we have free resources on Dungeon Masters Guild, including for Word, which I'd say
Okay.
for folks who are super duper beginners, that's probably what they're using in most cases.
Okay.
And so if you're looking for that template, the place to go is on our website.
Hmm.
On the left side, there are a bunch of categories, and you want to look for resources for DMG creators, and you will find a bunch of free resources there, including templates and style guides. And what's really great about the style guide is that we've got that directly from Wizards of the Coast. So
Okay.
that's the document that they use internally. And it includes some advice from Chris Perkins, and also includes a guide to the Forgotten Realms, which we'd say is like their base setting for fifth
Hmm.
edition,
Sure.
which will teach you things like well, the example that comes to mind is that in the Forgotten Realms, you don't you don't really have weeks, you have 10 days.
Sure.
So it'll teach you like little things like that, little style things,
Okay.
that if you want to feel like your work is professional and matches the official works, you can learn through reading those guides.
Okay, and I'll have links in the description to where you guys can go and see all of these different resources, which is honestly something I knew there had to be some sort of template resource out there, but I actually didn't know that it was just that simple. So, okay, so that's a step in the right direction for that. And you kind of already touched on it, but content that I'm allowed to use, I pretty much have access to everything, right? Dungeons and Dragons for the most part with the DM's Guild.
I would say pretty much for the most part for fifth edition
Okay, sorry,
D&D.
that's my mistake. My fifth edition
Yes.
only. Yeah.
Yes. So the way to find all of that information, and this is the aside from things you would need like templates and art and those sorts of things,
Hmm.
which we have resources available for. The second thing I would say that you really ought to do if you're thinking of publishing on DM's Guild is to review our guidelines.
Okay.
So the way to do that is if you scroll all the way to the bottom of the front page, there's a little part that says DM's Guild creator questions. You
Okay.
click on that, and I would recommend hitting the how to get started on DM's Guild, because
Okay.
that breaks down the different sections of our guidelines, what you'll find in like the art questions versus the like content questions. Kind of gives you a little bit of an idea of what to expect before diving in and reading the whole thing. But that will tell you what settings are available to you. So
Okay.
right now, as we're filming this video, it's the Forgotten Realms, Ravenloft, Eberron, and the two very specific Magic the Gathering settings, Theros and Ravnica.
Okay.
Those are available to you. But other settings that haven't been introduced in fifth edition yet, like the much beloved Greyhawk and the much speculated Spelljammer, are
Mm.
not unlocked on Dungeon Masters Guild yet.
Okay. So well, that's good to know. So if people don't want to feel, I know there's a very love-hate relationship with the Forgotten Realms, but people have options if they want to dive into a different realm of creation, which is great. Or you can just create kind of agnostic,
Yes,
setting agnostic stuff.
neutral.
Sure.
Mhm.
Okay, and you mentioned art, so let's talk about that. So say I have a really cool thing, I have a template or whatever I've done in Word, and I've just got text on the screen. I'm like, well, this is great, but I want to break this up and throw in some pictures. What do I have as far as art? Do I need to have to go commission my own art, or is there stuff I can already use?
You absolutely do not.
Okay.
So, I would say a nice place to start if you want totally free, available to you art is again going to that resources for DMG creators section.
Hmm.
And we have a number of art packs, which with Wizards of the Coast permission, we were able to create from previous editions of
Okay.
Dungeons and Dragons. And those are organized by like there's actually a number of monster art packs. There will be humans and NPCs, scenery, a few like map and location type packs. And our frequently asked questions / guidelines does link to a number of those packs, which are a good place to start. So those are free for you to use in Dungeon Masters Guild creations. So you are able to license them for that. But there's a number of other places where you can get art.
Hmm.
I Drive Through RPG, which is our sister website, kind of we're
Sure.
all under the umbrella of one bookshelf. Drive Through RPG has a very robust stock art
Okay.
section. where you can get like a whole pack of art for much, much less than commissioning art.
Okay.
We do have some stock art that's available on Dungeon Masters Guild as well. But there's a number of things that creators like to use. There's websites where you can find royalty free to license photography.
Oh,
One that
okay.
comes to mind is Unsplash.
Oh,
Dot
okay.
com.
All right.
Photography is a style that not a lot of folks use because they like that very like painterly art, similar to 5th edition look. But
Mhm.
I always encourage folks to kind of go for their own look for their creations. So that would be great. And then there's also words are hard this morning, and I'm forgetting what it's called. But when there's like historical artwork that's so old that like anyone can use it now.
Public domain.
Thank you.
Yes.
Public domain. There's also public domain art, and a lot of
Oh,
folks
okay.
lean
I
on
never
that as
thought about
well.
that.
I know that folks were really excited when Theros got unlocked. That's like a Greek
Ah.
mythology inspired setting. So public domain stuff, kind of perfect for Theros.
Okay. So I've got my stock art from wherever in my Word document that I've made using a template. What do I need to include in that aside from just the text and the art that I want? This is my aesthetic. Do I need to include any sort of disclaimer or other things that says it's a DM's Guild product, or different cover pages, or what kind of stuff for that?
Yes. So there are a couple things you need to include. There is like a little paragraph of legalese
Mm-hmm.
that you can find in the guidelines that you should insert. And then on your cover, what is required is a Dungeon Masters Guild. We used to refer to it as a logo. It's like a
Mm-hmm.
square logo,
Sure.
but since it's separate from like our website logo, I've been referring to it as a square emblem.
Okay.
But you need to have that emblem or badge on your front cover.
Okay.
And then for folks who have their own publishing companies or that might have their own logo, or like Nerd Immersion has a logo,
Sure.
you're not allowed to include that on the cover, but
Okay.
you are allowed to include that on the interior. So if
Gotcha.
you have a credits page, that
Okay.
would be a great place to include like a Nerd Immersion and list your YouTube link.
Okay, that's great, because that's I remember hearing some stuff about got to have logos on the front cover and things like that. So that makes sense to me now. Okay, and obviously the question that this is for mine, it's more about sharing stuff with the community in a place that people expect to see things. But I can make money doing this. Is that a thing I can do? Can you explain a little bit about how that works?
Absolutely. And so there's 3 different ways that you can price your work.
Okay.
You can price it for free, which a lot of folks do like to do if they just want to just share their
Mhm.
works. Or sometimes folks, if they're doing a larger supplement of some sort, will have like a smaller version of it available for free.
Mhm.
But I always encourage folks, like, you've spent a lot of your time and energy creating something. You should value that.
Mhm.
So other things folks like to do is price things as pay what you want.
Okay.
So if someone wanted to get the supplement for free, they can do so, or they can pay upfront, including a suggested price, which is kind of like what's automatically filled in,
Mhm.
or they can get it for free and then come back later and pay for it. But again, what I am like the most is for creators to just have a set price for how
Mhm.
they're valuing their time and energy. And so, no matter what way you price it, when funds come in, you what folks should know is that there is the royalties you earn is 50% of what the customer has paid. You will see those start to populate your royalties,
Mhm.
and then there's a 30-day hold that we have on those funds because of needing like credit card payments to clear and that sort of thing, and avoiding certain types of fraud. And
Sure.
after those 30 days, you are able to go to this get paid section of your account page and do
Mhm.
the very exciting thing of entering in your PayPal address and getting those funds. Alternately, you can use those funds on Dungeon Masters Guild as well.
Okay, great. So those are my sort of high level questions that I had, which answered a lot of the things and kind of gave me, I was a little worried what I needed to include, what resources I have, if I needed to, go out and pick up a product like InDesign, or as it sounds like just as simple as you have Microsoft Word or a similar word processing system, you can use that. And then if you want, maybe upgrade down the road to get more fancy with things. So before we kind of close out this little interview intro to DM's Guild, is there anything else you would like to let the people know?
Oh, goodness. Well, I mean, do you mind if we talk a little bit about what we started talking about before we
Oh, no,
hit
no, that would be great. Yeah, let's
button?
talk about, yeah, let's talk about
Yeah.
that.
So you had mentioned that, well, I had said that I was honestly very surprised you've not published on Dungeon Masters Guild before. It seems totally up your alley. And you
Yeah.
had mentioned you're a little bit like shy about
Yeah.
hitting that publish button. I mean, do you want to say anything about
Yeah,
that?
yeah, that's true. So I don't know if it's a mental block. I guess it is. So, I mean, obviously, you guys know I'm uploading 3 videos or more a day at different points. So I'm not opposed to making content on the internet in varying degrees of quality according to the comments, and I'm okay with getting public feedback. But for some reason, I have this mental block about uploading a document to a website designed for uploading of documents and hitting publish. And like, it's just, I have a mental block around getting to do that. And I don't know why I'm nervous or scared of doing so. And you were telling me beforehand that seems to be a big thing that people have.
Yeah, that's a big thing. I don't know. Like, I would have assumed it would be the same thing for recording
Sure.
and publishing YouTube videos, but maybe it's a little different. Like, as a writer, I feel like you've painstakingly created this like story if you're writing this adventure, and it's like a tiny piece of your soul.
Hmm.
So to publish that for public consumption, and I don't know if you like dread getting like your first review and it's like a 1-star review or something, or people seeing that, or nobody buying it, or something like that. I can totally see why that would be intimidating.
Hmm.
Um, but I mean, as far as like feedback is concerned, one of the great parts about Dungeon Masters Guild is, yeah, maybe you get some feedback and maybe you get constructive feedback. You can actually update your document and re-upload it to the same listing, and
Hmm.
anyone who's purchased it before can get that updated listing as well automatically in their library. So it's almost like it's another community aspect of Dungeon Masters Guild, where it's sort of like the people who purchase it can help also playtest things
Hmm.
and help you get better. But it's really common that folks are like, well, like I just can't do it, I just can't hit publish. And I'd say, so well, first of all, I'd say if you feel that way, you are not alone.
Sure.
So I
Yeah.
don't know if that helps. And then other things I'd recommend is a lot of folks find if they join something like RPG Writer Workshop, which is a great workshop. They have courses like Write Your First Adventure, and there
Hmm.
are specific Dungeon Master Guild tracks, which we usually try to throw some extra resources, like you get access to a map pack early,
Okay.
or this right now there's registration going on, and we opened up art scholarships for people to fund commission art,
Oh, very cool.
um, which is really exciting. But doing that, you have like accountability, you have deadlines, you feel secure from having like lessons and things from
Hmm.
people who've done it before giving you advice.
Sure.
And you're also part of this whole other group who are all working on their first adventures. A lot of people find that helpful. So check out RPG Writer Workshop. Another thing is to just like familiarize yourself with the community and talking to the community, which I imagine you've done already from reviewing folks' work.
Sure.
If someone's not familiar, look up hashtag DMs Guild. That's
Hmm.
really, really active. Or folks who tag at DMs_guild. There's also on Twitter.
Sure.
We're also at the same handle on Instagram, and there's a Facebook group if you look up Dungeon Masters Guild groups that's meant for creators.
Hmm.
And getting involved in that community, you can even tell them like, hey, I'm kind of shy about publishing my first adventure, and they will swarm you with encouragement, or give you advice on specific things you're unsure about. So getting involved in the community or signing up for something like an RPG Writer Workshop can really help you get over that.
Yeah, and I guess I hadn't even thought about it because I have seen, even some DMs Guild creators years later make massive overhauls to a document or something that they've written, and that's true. So I guess consider that as well. Like Lisa said, you're not locked in. Like if you upload this and someone points out, because you're really close to it, a really glaring balance issue or a huge typo or missed encounter opportunity or something. You're like, I wish I'd done that. You're not locked in. You can go in and update that and fix it. And then now there's a version 1.1 of your document. And now, you can fix that. And you can I think you can even put notes in the updates, right? That says like this blah, blah, blah was changed so people can see it.
And then when they see it pops up to the top of their library, it basically bumps up your product, and they can overlap the little like eye information symbol to see, well, what was changed exactly.
Yeah, so I guess that also, now that I'm thinking about it too, alleviates some of my hesitation, because just because you put it out there and you're worried that it's not going to be good enough, or it's it could be better, you can use that as an opportunity to have a public playtesting, public discussion forum to update it and make it better, and then just put it out there. Hey, folks, I updated it. And then that's true. And I've seen that, and it just didn't occur to me from the creator side that that's a thing you could do.
Yeah, I know like a lot of folks who put out like player options, especially, will like to update things based on discussion comments from folks who've run their player options or even reviews.
Sure. All right. Well, aside from that, any other closing feedback, comments, things you'd like to put out there for everyone?
I'll add two things. One is that I've been quietly discussing things with a nonprofit called Dots RPG about accessibility on Dungeon Masters Guild, as it's public knowledge that we're working on some overhauls to One Bookshelf sites. So that's something that we're constantly keeping in mind. If that's something that's important to you, so say you want to make sure that your PDF is accessible to non or low seeing users, then you want to make sure your PDF is screen reader accessible. I would go to Dots RPG's website, and I believe it's on their blog, but they've got a number of articles about like how to make sure you're using headers correctly so that they work well in screen readers and that sort of thing. Those will eventually be in our guidelines, as well as not like, as I guess we won't require folks to make things screen reader accessible, but we'll encourage it and make resources easily accessible to them to learn how to do that. So keep an eye on that. And if that's important to you and you're just learning now, start out knowing how to make your PDFs extra awesome. And then the second thing I'll say is that I keep bringing up community. Honestly, like a lot of our authors who are really active on Dungeon Masters Guild have so much great advice. Typically, in a typical year, I would be going to different cons, doing panels with folks. But this year, a lot of those panels are virtual, which means they are recorded and you can watch them at the VODs at any time. So one I would recommend also looking up on YouTube would be on the D&D channel. It was called How to Be a D&D Designer, or How to Become a D&D Designer. It was part of D&D Celebration. Great advice from the creators on the panel for that. So if you want kind of an additional DM's Guild 101 or even a 201 course, go listen to that. Look that up.
All right. And before we get out of here, where can folks find you if they're looking to find more information about you specifically?
Yes, so I've already listed DM's Guild socials, but if you'd like to find me and see what I'm up to, including and beyond Dungeon Masters Guild, I am on Instagram, Twitter, and Twitch at Lysa Penrose. That's Lysa spelled with a Y, Lysa Penrose. And then I also have a website, lysapenrose.com, where you can see my creative portfolio.
All right. Well, thank you, Lysa, for your time. Hopefully this gives everybody, and myself included, look for future videos of me going through the process of actually uploading, creating the document, and then hopefully in the next couple days here, getting something published that you all can go check out. And it all started right here with this video. So thank you all so much for watching. We'll see you next time.